the shocking findings that show a third of Gen Z men, so that's between the ages of 14 and 29, believe that women should obey their husbands. In comparison, 13% of so-called boomers, those aged between about 60 and 80, so kind of our generation here, not you, Judy, it's all right, I know you're Perry and Mary, only 13% of them believe the same. So we're going in a strange direction here. Almost a quarter of Gen Z men said that women should not appear too independent.
Appear to?
Wow.
Like I say, we're going in a direction that Jane, Nadia and me never, ever imagined that we would. How, you know, you're a good bit younger than us. How do you see this?
It does feel like there's quite a few. It's going back to this kind of old school.
That's what it feels like to me.
Mentality. You know, I was with a group of young people the other day, around ages around 18 or so, and we were just chatting about life and what they like to do and cooking and food. And one of the young men were like, "Well, I don't really cook," and I was like, "Well, you know, you should learn." And they were like, "Not really, because when I get married, my wife will cook." And I was like, "Ah." I was like, what do you mean your wife will cook? What made you have that assumption? And he goes, well, she'll want to cook. And I was like, but there's a difference between, you know, like, actually, does she really desire to cook for you, or you kind of demanding or just expecting? And it was so strange when there's so much information out there and so much how we discuss about these things with gender roles and so on, that he couldn't even understand.
So was it a real surprise that that boy, however, what was his personality type? Was it a shock that he was thinking?
Not saying it, not loaded, but lovely young man, you know, family network's great, you know, he sees the different in the structures of mum and dad and aunties and uncles, so it was really quite a shock. And what was more shocking is he didn't even really kind of see what he was saying was an issue. It was just like, oh, I didn't even think of it like that. After he had the conversation, he was like, oh, OK.
Well, that's what adolescence taught us, wasn't it? I mean, that's what was so good about that drama.
Yeah, it's kind of weird when you do a survey of men that have got such an age gap, because obviously the older ones are speaking from a whole life of experience and meeting loads and loads of different people, whereas when you're Gen Z, your life experience is tiny, right? And so a large percentage of that percentage will probably change their minds within the next 2 or 3 years. But it's like what happens at home is just so important.
It is really.
Because, you know, we're dealing with social media and the messages and the algorithms and whatever, and if they go looking for something, they then get fed that constantly. So the messages in the home of you just going, you know, your friend going, hang on a minute, you know, that's not how it is, kind of thing. Just those little flip
conversations.
We can't just isolate young boys, you know, because these messages, you know, if this is becoming part of a sort of cultural conversation, they affect young women as well. So there are young women who will be thinking, I should be the one to cook. I better not be too independent. You know, I better let him earn more money. And I mean, if I think back to
feminists,
not if they're my daughter, they don't.
Well, no,
at home, I would be going, no.
Yeah, no, I agree. But if you think of the culture that we kind of grew up in when we were younger, the ladette culture.
Yeah.
So that was sort of early 2000s that really kind of burst out, and you had like Sarah Cox and Zoe Ball was part of that, and it was very sort of strong and not being ladylike, you know, it was...
I mean, that had its own issues because it was saying women have to behave like men to be blah, which you know, is a whole other argument.
But it did give you a bit of kind of wind beneath your wings, whereas now I kind of worry about young girls that feel... that they have to fit.
We've got to that place, and I often have this conversation with young women, where young women will say, we've really gone back here, oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't say I'm a feminist.
Yes.
Because it's unsexy. Boys say, I'll ask you if you're a lesbian, da-da-da, and it's like, God, really?
Well,
so even if they are quite feminist, they don't want to say they're a feminist.
Well, there's that other term of being
did.
quite feminine, like, you know, letting a man
to be
allowed to be really feminine. And I think it's a shame that they can't have a balance, because, yes, I come from old school and I'm very super independent, but at the same time, I am someone I would want to cook for my man.
But that's you making choices.
That's the difference where we have to show we have to make a choice. I can cook you a hella meal, but tomorrow I might be in a business meeting. So I like the balance.
Or I might just want to lie in the bath all day and do nothing.
Curry, Mary chicken. chicken.
Peri-meri chicken. With a little extra spice. Yeah. But it's just being able to have the conversation, to know the balance and know the difference between expectation and a choice.
Also, looking behind this then, I mean, obviously adolescence was hugely sort of popular and had a huge impact, the drama, didn't it? And we've spoken about Andrew Tate in the past, but Louis Theroux has also, I don't know if it's quite out yet, but anyway, he's done
March the 11th,
a documentary for Netflix, which is navigating the Manosphere.
The Nanosphere.
Yeah.
A whole other documentary.
Indeed. The nanos of the Manosphere. Let's have a wee look. Yeah.
What would you say is the message?
I coach boys how to make money.
Wow, this is a nice spot.
How to be outside the system. How to be proper guys.
Shut up or nut up.
Would you see me that way? Did you look at my arms?
The stature's not saying too much.
I was entering the Manosphere, a wild frontier of streamers whose behaviour is reshaping the culture. 15 is probably like your main demographic.
No, it isn't. I'm doing it for money. I don't care about
The morality of it.
I'm not living for other people. I'm living for myself.
Do you consider yourself a misogynist?
I love women and I actually understand them.
You think you know better than they do?
They want a guy that can lead them and dominate them.
That face of Louis Theroux, that poker face. I don't know, I'm torn. Do I want to see that or do I not want to see that? Do you want to give that oxygen and amplify that message, or do you want to just put it in the corner and say...
Well, you know, hear no evil, see no evil, touch no evil. If you don't know what your children are being exposed to, how can you redress the balance? You know, so yes, we don't want to look, we don't want to hear, we don't want to know, we don't really want to know what a phone can do, we don't really want to know what they might be saying. But then if you haven't got that information, then is that not more dangerous?
Yeah, but what do you do with a toddler that's having a tantrum? You say, stay in your room and I'll come back and see you when you've calmed down. You don't say, oh, let's really look at this tantrum of yours. I mean...
I don't know what you mean. I don't understand.
Well, because we're giving it oxygen, we're giving it attention. These guys in a Netflix movie with Louis Theroux, that will only make them feel better.
No, but
it depends, because I've only seen the trailer, so... Because I think when you see the whole thing, it'd be easier to sort of... But if you know, Louis is very educated, he's very liberal, so if it's him sort of standing back going, you know, oh my God, this is, I roll, then that's not really going to land with the younger generations, because they're just going to think, well, here's this older guy just eye-rolling at something that we love. So it'd be interesting to see whether he's actually going to get into the sort of toxicity of it and the ongoing effect.
I don't think it's made
you know what?
for
If it does, if parents do watch it and go, oh my goodness, I didn't realise that this was happening, and it prompts them to actually look into it a bit more and actually address it with their kids, and it's a good thing, I guess.
I mean, I'll watch it with my kids because I think it's a conversation opener.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, look, the reality is, to some who are their followers will see them on Netflix and think, oh my gosh, it's a big thing, they're on Netflix. But at the same time, I think as parents, it's really important for us to be educated on this, because whether it's on Netflix or not, they're getting streams, they're getting a lot of views on, sometimes more than, you know, normal TV, on their online, on YouTubes and stuff. So it's important for us to understand. My thing is, what qualifies? We can see what qualifies these young men to feel like they can educate our boys, our girls, our theys, and let them think that this is a lifestyle. It's important, whether we want to or not. There's some things as parents that is so difficult to watch, but we have to. We have to understand what's going on. We have to understand what's grooming our children, what they're doing at night time when we're in our room and we're tired, because these are the people that are telling our young children, this is how you're supposed to.
Once you understand it, what do you do about it?
Look, I personally think it's about communication. I personally think it's about having a network. For me, I know with my kids, there's certain people they can always go to if they couldn't get to me. But you try to limit what they see. And then there's going to be times they're at school, they're on a break, they're travelling, they're still watching stuff, but it's about trying to put as much as that moral compass in them that they can make a decision for themselves.
When we have these conversations, doesn't it also come back to the social media companies? Come on, meet us halfway here, guys.
Do something. We can't
rein
do this
in
on
some
our own.
of this toxic content.
Just lock it down. We can't do this on our own, because in reality, that generation is going want to be the ones that are leading us. So social media companies, they might be making money and doing all they want to do now. How are you going to cope in 10, 20 years
and guess
when they're
what?
out of control?
The people running the social media companies don't give phones to their young children.
That says it all.
But social media companies don't have morality. They have balance sheets. And unfortunately, this kind of stuff makes money, which is why I'm slightly hesitant to put it out there.
Really recommend a docudrama, Social Dilemma.
Yeah, that's been around a while.
Really?
Yeah.